Hello, Reds, and welcome to the 100% United podcast. It's been a shocker of a week for us United fans, but with the games coming thick and fast, there's no time to feel sorry for ourselves. I'm your host, DC, and here's my co-host, Scott. Hi, mate.
Hello, pal.
Today, we look back at that nightmare in the new camp and ahead to Sunday's matchup at Everton. Let's get cracking, pal. Are you still lower than the snake's belly after Tuesday?
No, I've had a bit of time to digest it, and I think Wednesday's result in the City of Manchester Stadium, that certainly helped our spirits. But yeah, bitterly disappointed with how we played. I just wish we would have given a better account of ourselves, and it just could have been so different if Rashford would have scored that chance in the first minute.
Yes, mate. I mean, let's get straight into it. You're right. Our best chance came after 40 seconds, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Rashford clean through, poked it over Ter Stegen, and just nipped off the bar there. Could have been so different, as you say, pal.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the space he was in. I was waiting for an offside flag or something, but I don't think he could believe the space he was given. And he maybe rushed the finish, but it was just an unlucky event.
Yeah, but as we've learned in these massive games, you need to take chances, don't you, pal? We had another opening just a little bit after for McTominay. He miscontrolled, and it didn't get much better than that after that for us, did it? It
didn't. I think we really caught them unawares. We really flew out the traps. And we really needed to score a goal very early like we did in Paris to shift the whole tie.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't our night.
Yeah, and it almost started, the nightmare almost started early, didn't it? Because obviously we had a penalty awarded against us, against Fred. Went to your old friend VAR, and we got a stay of execution. What did you think, pal?
When I first saw the replay, I actually thought, no, it's no way a penalty. He got the ball, and then the more replays and the more angles you saw, it looked like he maybe did get the player before the ball. I was pretty surprised that got rescinded.
I have to agree, Scott. He definitely got the man before he got the ball. And this is the bizarre thing with VAR. So the ref's given the penalty, and then the VAR has looked at the replays. And, you know, of course, if you look at that in open play, if you look at that in real time, you see Fred gets the ball, he gets a bit of the ball, fair enough. But if we're using VAR, it's got to be precise. And he definitely touched the man before he touched the ball, right?
He did. I think that in the hope that the flow of the game doesn't get halted too much, they're trying to just make these decisions pretty quickly, and they're not giving the referee all the angles and all the opportunity to see exactly what went on. They're giving him a couple of angles, a couple of chances, and that's it.
Seems bizarre to me.
It does. It seems like it needs a bit of ironing out, doesn't it?
Absolutely, buddy. But anyway, it didn't really matter anyway, because on the 16th minute, Messi danced through our defence, fired firmly past De Gea. We could have done a number of things to prevent it. Obviously, Messi is a magical player, one of the best players ever. Superb play, but you've got to do something to stop him there, surely. You've got to foul him, tackle him, whatever you want. Rugby tackle him, I don't care. You don't let Messi shoot from 25 yards. Bonkers.
No, or just don't give him the ball. I mean, Ashley Young had a great opportunity to clear it. Just hoof it out, right? Like at the end of the day, we're chasing the game from the first minute. We can't be faffing around back there. But it just seemed like he kept getting in more and more space. People, like they sometimes do with Messi, they're guilty of watching him instead of doing something about it. And it certainly seemed that way.
It did. It was a mixture of brilliance and naivety from the opposing players, I thought. Really disappointing. 2-0 down, right up against it. But we still had hope, didn't we? We still knew that 2 goals did it for us. 2 away goals would do it for us, 2-2. Mm-hmm. And we go through on away goals. 4 minutes later, an absolute disaster from David De Gea. Messi again, allowed to shoot from 25 yards, this time on his right foot. So, you know, you got to credit us for pushing on to his right. It's bounced twice and it slid under De Gea for the biggest mistake he's ever made in the United shirt.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. It was Taibbi-esque, and on the biggest of stages as well, it was pretty unforgivable.
It was an absolute disaster, mate. And we've charted his downturn in form. And we're not talking about De Gea, you know, turning into a rubbish keeper. He's a fantastic keeper, but he has been a bit off colour. And the biggest arena and the biggest stage, he's dropped a clanger there, pal.
He really has. And it just shows you how big of a factor confidence is to a footballer's ability. It can make a striker stop scoring, and it can make the greatest goalkeeper that we've seen in 10 years start chucking him in.
Yeah, and unfortunately for goalkeepers, there's nowhere to hide, is there? There's, you know, a striker misses a chance, and 5 minutes later you can score one. De Gea, he can make a world-class save 20 minutes later, and no one gives 2 hoots, do they? So really, 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 really disappointing stuff. And like we say, it unfortunately has been coming. I mean, the one silver lining is that the Madrid move is dead and buried. That's never going to happen. I'll tell you that right now. In that stadium, against that team, against that player, Lionel Messi, there's no chance that Madrid are going anywhere near De Gea this summer or next summer, I'll tell you.
Yeah, but now we got Paris to worry about.
Yeah, but you know what, Scott? I'm moving into the camp where I'm becoming more indifferent about whether Dave stays or not. He's obviously holding out for a contract, and his performances are going down. Now, for all the great years he's given us, and I appreciate them massively, I think he's the greatest goalkeeper in the world. But we've got to start looking at ourselves, not at players. We've got to start looking at the United badge. And, you know, if he's not interested, then he can go to Paris. No problems. I'm not bothered. And we'll get someone else in. You know, we can't be held to ransom when someone's not performing. And he's not performing at the moment. He's just not.
Yeah, I think you're only as good as your current performances, and this is a results-driven business, and we can't just say, well, we've got him in there because he's been great in the past. We need him to be great in the present, right?
Absolutely, Scott, we do. And like we said, it killed the match. 3-0 down on aggregate, in need of 3 goals at the new camp, and not looking like we were getting on the ball at all, looking disjointed. And it was, I mean, I hate to say it, Scott, but I looked at the clock and it said 23 minutes. And I was thinking, God, if I could just fast forward to the end of this game, I would right now. And that's for me to say that. You well know that I will watch every second in the hope that we will pull something out. Of course, I still had belief. Of course, I still watched it all. But the writing was on the wall, wasn't it, pal?
It really was. It was really tough to watch the last 60 minutes of it.
It was.
And especially because we couldn't even get near them at times. They were passing it around and we were 3-4 seconds behind them.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually reminded me, I don't know if you concur with this, Scott, I know it was one of your darkest days too, the 2009 final in Rome. Obviously, we had a couple of early chances. We stormed out of the traps, took it to Barcelona and looked like it'd be a really good night. Eto on the break caught us with our pants down, and then it just looked that we were just never going to get back into that game. And unfortunately, on Tuesday it was like Groundhog Day, just the same. Did you feel the same, pal, or not?
Yeah, I really do. I think that's a really great comparison. That we just completely lost our way after the first goal that day, and after the second goal this day. And maybe you could even say the first goal kind of killed it. We just the last few months, last month especially, we just haven't been able to react to conceding a goal, and it's really damaged the whole game.
Yeah, you mentioned that after the game, actually, Scott. You said that we seem to have this habit now where goals, we know full well that goals have an effect on games. Of course they do. But we seem to be a team that is really affected positively or negatively, one way or the other, by a goal. Really, in an extreme way.
For sure. It happened at Arsenal, happened at Wolves, and now it happened at Barcelona. And it even happened in the first leg. As soon as we conceded the goal, it just looked like it really rocked everyone's confidence, and we never recovered from it.
Yes, mate. And unfortunately, that's 10 games in a row now that we've conceded.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, if we're reacting negatively to conceding goals and we're conceding every game, I know we had a look, didn't we? And we saw that we'd lose 2-1 or win 2-1 in a hell of a lot of our games after the sort of Ollie honeymoon was over. Something we need to sort out big time. So yeah, as you say, mate, looking like a long night. And just to put a cherry on top, old Coutinho, ex-Liverpool player, had to bang one in from 30 yards into the top corner. Not quite the top corner, actually. What do you think of that? Could Dave have saved that or not?
I think he could have. I think it's just one of those saves that he would pull out, and you're like, how did he do that? I think if that same shot had been at him at Wembley when we played Spurs a few months ago, when he was just saving everything, he would have saved it. I think that the second goal that night, the one that he let in, just completely killed his confidence, and he was just not able to recover. You got to say, even that the Sergio Roberto shot that he saved in the first half was more just shot at him. He didn't, smacked him in the torso. He didn't really have the save to make.
Yeah, and the Messi one for his hat trick late on when he fisted it away, it was going at his face, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
The one thing I'll say with Dave is, as we were discussing earlier, and I said, I wouldn't be so bothered as I was in the past. It's just I wonder. We had the World Cup last summer, and I know from being in Spain a lot that there's there's a lot of pressure on him here. They don't actually rate him at all here. They really don't. And obviously in the match against Ronaldo, he let a real clanger in, probably, joint worst clanger I've ever seen him make with the one from Messi last night. And that is a worry for me, that you've made your biggest mistakes in your career against Ronaldo and Messi. That doesn't send a positive message to me, I'm afraid.
No, it doesn't. But I think you've also got to look at the opposition, right? Like everyone who plays against De Gea knows, all right, we're coming up against one of the best goalkeepers in the world here. We got to get our shots right in the corner. We've got to be on our absolute top game. Similar to how our defenders were thinking, okay, we're coming up against Messi here, and we've got to be playing the best that we possibly can in order to stop him. That the opposing attackers, they're knowing they're coming up against a great goalkeeper, and they know that they've got to step it up a notch in order to be able to beat him.
You're right, and the one positive I did think is that obviously Fergie travelled with the team and travelled back with the team, and I'm sure Fergie had a little word in Dave's ear and reminded him of how low he was when he first joined. He had made that mistake against West Brom. Refs were allowing strikers to elbow him, punch him, do whatever they want really, and not giving a foul against the striker on De Gea. And he had to battle through that, and he showed an incredible mental strength and resolve to bounce back from that. And you'd have to say that was a lower point than he's at now. He's got a lot more credit in the bank. So although it sounds like I'm slagging him off, for all I know, on Sunday, come 1:30 Everton, he'll pull out another one of his world-class performances, and it will be another blip rather than a sort of change in permanent form. So I'm glad Fergie was on the plane. I'm glad he would have had a little chat to him, I'm sure. And I do expect Dave to bounce back, but we got to say what we see, right?
Absolutely. But that's a really good point as well.
So then our second best chance, you would have to say, came in the 90th minute. So our first best chance after 40 seconds. And then Alexis Sanchez diving in. Really, really good save from Ter Stegen, to be fair. You'd have to say Sanchez probably should have scored from that close. It gave Ter Stegen a chance. But yeah, it was that was pretty much our two best chances, beginning and end. Not a great sign, eh?
Definitely not. But I was really hoping that was going to go in, because that could be a goal that could springform him into some confidence and some good form in the coming weeks, which we've got a monumental week coming up here, TC.
We do indeed, mate. And just a quick word on Sanchez's moustache.
The dirty Sanchez.
I mean, come on, is he playing a practical joke on all of us? Because he's gone on holiday and turned into Dirty Sanchez. It's incredible.
It just shows you, when you start making 500 grand a week, you think you can do anything you want.
Couple of weeks holiday and you blooming, unbelievable.
When you've only got your dogs living with you, they don't care about your facial hair. They just enjoy the love.
They do indeed, buddy, and he certainly loves them, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
So, mate, an absolute shocker in the new camp. Our worst ever, a two-legged Champions League tie, 4-0. So our worst ever defeat.
And you've got to say our worst ever Champions League season, given we scored one goal at home all 5 games.
Yeah, and we've lost 5 games, which is the most in a Champions League season as well. These stats, they can be misleading, but there's quite a few stats that came out of the match that are not great. We haven't had a clean sheet.
And then we've just got a couple of wonderful nights in there. We won in Turin and we won in Paris. I don't think any of us will ever forget that night in Paris, but it's all for nothing at the end.
It is all for nothing, and I did say, mate, that I thought we went over the top with the celebrations, and this tie is sort of has underlined that. I think we did get a bit carried away. I mean, it's a last 16 game. We're Manchester United. We've beaten Paris. They're not a historical club. Yeah, they've got some cash, but it should have been they're out of the way, on to the next one. Now I loved Ollie and Ferg and Eric down in the dressing room. I loved having a sing song and stuff. I think we overdid it a touch.
I definitely agree. And you look at the games after that. We went away at Wolves a couple times. We lost. We went away at Arsenal, lost. And it completely derailed everything.
Exactly, and I've got another stat for you. That's 4 away matches in a row for the first time in 20 years. But let's be a bit real with some of these stats, because the last time we did lose 4 matches in a row was in 1999, and not a bad year. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer played in all 4 of those games. So if we're dragging out stats, yeah, sure, that's not a great stat. But at the same time, you look back there. And that's the last time it happened. So
Yeah, well, there's a time and a place. There's a time and a place to lose 4 games, right? You never want to lose 4 games in April because then you're probably going to be screwed on all accounts.
That's another fair point, buddy.
I think Fergie's teams. Everyone would always say that they started badly, but you can lose a few games in August and September, and still have a lot of time to be able to recover. But when you lose 4 games in April on the bounce, it's in fact it's 5-6, isn't it? Isn't it 5-7?
It's not great. It's not great at all. And
And I think, honestly, on the same wavelength that we're talking about David De Gea, you got to say Paul Pogba. He's maybe ushering for a move away. And for the last few weeks, I've been sitting here, praying to every god that I believe in that he's not going to move. And then he puts in a performance where he's more or less anonymous throughout the whole game. And you think that, which Paul Pogba are we trying to keep here? The one that scored 12 and 13 when Ollie first came in, or the one that hasn't done much in the last month?
we'll have to say 7 of those are penalties.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, AS Diario, the Spanish publication, gave him a 0 out of 10 for his performance. They said he was absolutely awful. And the reaction in Spain hasn't been very positive at all. It was, they said that was the night to show his strengths, show his skills, and they said he got eaten up by the occasion and went totally missing. So the feedback's not great. As we've said before, Scott, they need to put the cash up. If they want to put up 150 to 200 million for Pogba, then I won't be so adverse to saying that's fine. Look at what Liverpool have done with the 130 million they recouped from Coutinho.
Mm-hmm.
But I see Pogba as a far more influential player than Coutinho.
He can be, but he can also be a lot more anonymous.
Now, what I'd say, Scott, is if we had a squad full of superstars, we were bouncing along, we were doing great, I'd say, yeah, no probs. Pogba, if you want to go, you go. If you want to stay, you stay. But I see it the same as the Rooney situation that we had. But sort of back in 2012-13, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Or 11-12, I think, when obviously he downed tools. But at that time, we couldn't afford to sell Rooney because we just got rid of Ronaldo in obviously at the end of 2009. And to sell Rooney would have made us look weak as a club. And that's the problem I've got with Pogba now. We haven't got enough world-class players. So to start selling one of our very best players, the image it's going to portray of our club is just not an acceptable one at this point in time for me.
No, I would agree with that. And I actually think not just as a club, but also as a team, we can't afford to lose him because we haven't got the players to replace him, right?
No, absolutely not. But mate, quarterfinals is an improvement on recent years. God, being in the Champions League is an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
We have had a great run. I mean, we did come up against Barcelona. We did come up against Messi. We came up against a team that's been going toe-to-toe with Europe's elite for the last decade. So look, it is an improvement, but we need to keep improving, and that's the message that's got to go down from Ollie. And it sounds like the message that is going down. Do I need to ask you for a man of the match? Are you going to give it to a non-United player for the first time in the history of the podcast?
I would prefer not give it at all than give it to a non-United player.
That's fine by me.
Yeah.
We all know who won it. We all know who got man of the match.
Yeah.
There's no need to mess around.
Yeah.
You don't need to say it, mate. I'm not going to make you.
Actually, I'm sorry. I will actually give a man of the match award to our away support. I thought that they were fantastic. They did not stop singing all game. We're 3-0 down and completely out of the tie. And I was proud to hear them, even all the way up in the rafters that they were. You could still hear them. So that was maybe the one positive of the night.
So before I was complaining about having to give 2 bottles of champagne out, now I've got to give 3,000.
Well, yeah.
Bloody hell. Unbelievable.
You just give one from all, a token.
A little thimble each. Yeah. So look, we're out. On the same night, Ronaldo bowed out, leaving Ajax on the other side of the draw. And we discussed it. We said it's a bloody nightmare because City are going to get Ajax. Liverpool will play Barca. And it's looking really, really bad for us United fans. But then Wednesday night came around and our little old friend VAR came out again. And things were looking a little bit better for us, eh?
You have to say what a game that was.
Wasn't it brilliant?
What a game. I don't think I've ever watched a game which United weren't playing that evoked that much emotion in me.
So, oh God, absolutely magic though. So Guardiola went absolutely spare, down the touchline, fist pumping. everyone going wild in the Etihad, and then our old pal, the VAR, and he was just a little bit offside, wasn't he? Just a touch.
Yeah, but he was, right? But to be honest, the biggest VAR decision of them, I can't believe that they allowed Llorente's goal, because for me was pretty clear handball.
So from what I'm hearing, they're just going to change handball and say if you touch it with your hand, it's a handball. And
What about with your elbow?
yeah, and that will be handball too. It's just simply that's a VAR rule change. You just can't carry on giving opinions on handballs, so they're just going to change it. He didn't do it on purpose, I don't think. It's come off his hand.
He definitely didn't, but it was also one of those that you could only really see it with the fifth angle that you got to see. The first four angles were pretty inconclusive. It looked like it came off his hip, but then there's one angle from behind that you can clearly see it coming off his elbow. But the referee didn't have access to that angle until after the game.
Apparently. I mean, I guess you have to see, would he have given it against a defender if it hit his arm there? No, he wouldn't. That low.
Mm-hmm.
So with that one, I thought, I thought it was fair enough. The great thing about the disallowed goal was the actual pass for the goal was obviously nowhere near offside. So it allowed the City fans to go extra bananas because it didn't seem like there was anything wrong with the goal at all, did it? I thought it was goal, game over.
Of course, yeah, because from first looking, it looked like Christian Eriksen had passed the ball back, and that can't be offside, right?
Exactly.
And then it just seemed to glance off Bernardo Silva, and then the funny thing was that Aguero was actually running back, and by the time he got it, he was actually back in an onside position.
Yeah, he was literally offside by well, if you're going to go by like a millisecond, wasn't it? A millisecond later, and he would have been back on. And then Pep sinking to his knees with his head in his hands, pouting away. It was pretty good to see, I must say. I enjoyed it a lot.
I really enjoyed that. But what I didn't enjoy was having to hear the commentators scream Aguero like it was 2012 again.
Yeah.
That just evoked a lot of memories that was horrible.
Yes, I must say it did invoke some horrible memories, but it also made me pretty happy that they thought they'd done it again and they hadn't. And after Tuesday night, mate, I was pretty blooming miserable about the football world. So that happening was a nice little fillip, to say the least.
Yeah, at least we got one prediction right. That we thought Spurs might have a chance of going through.
Absolutely.
Just so we're not always full of it.
And unfortunately, Liverpool made light work of Porto. Knocked them out of the way quite easily. They'll come up against Barca, and hopefully Barca will have their wits about them and see off those horrible Scousers, do the job for us. And that's it, isn't it? So we're left with Ajax Spurs and Liverpool v Barca.
Yeah, and I'll ask you, if we had gone through, would you have given us a big chance against Liverpool, or would you prefer to go out against Barcelona than Liverpool?
Well, I obviously would rather go out to Barcelona, but I'd rather be in the tie to take on Liverpool. I don't think that we have struggled particularly against Liverpool. Yeah, I mean, I would have fancied our chance in a two-legged tie, absolutely, with the Champions League final beckoning in the semi-finals, like Mourinho used to say. Once you're in the quarters, everyone's dreaming. I certainly would have liked to go up against them. I know you were looking on the bright side and saying, look, we're out now, but what if we had gone to Anfield and got knocked out then? I can start trying to think of what the emotions would have been like. I'd rather not, but I'd rather be there to see what it was like, rather than thinking we've dodged a bullet, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just remember a few years ago when we lost in the Europa League semi-final to them, and it was, even for the Europa League, it was a bad night.
It was. But, mate, we're out, and unfortunately we're relying on pretty much Ajax to do the job for us, aren't we?
I think Barcelona can do it. I think Barcelona can beat them, and if anything, another positive of the week was that City can't win the quadruple.
Yes.
And so let's hope, if the other one we wanted was Liverpool not to be able to win the league, and let's hope Barca can really give them a good hiding and ruin all their confidence.
Absolutely, buddy. Here's hoping, eh?
We're still in it.
One slightly less light topic to come out of the match. Obviously, Ashley Young had another shocking display. We talked about maybe leaving him out of the starting lineup. Kind of wish we had, but the abuse after the game that he received, it was hardcore racist abuse as well. It was disgusting. It was vile. And like I said to you, mate, and you quickly filled me on the details. I said, The problem with these idiots who slag people off is that, how many of the United team are black? So, and I said, this guy's he's probably halfway up Rashford's bum. And you said, yeah, one of the guys who was being racist had Rashford as his blooming his profile pic.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
it's just mental, mate. But I think we have to treat these kind of people with the respect they deserve. I mean, they're complete thickos. They're people who probably lack a massive amount of intelligence and education to come out with that kind of nonsense.
As well, I think we live in a day and age that people just want shock value.
Yeah.
Right. That when you do look at some of these posts, there are 5,000 comments, and some of them is "you're crap" and "you're this" and "you're that." And in order to get the most shock value and the most recognition from being so narrow-minded, is to say something so disgusting that just shocks everybody.
Absolutely, pal. That's true. And also, we don't know who any of these people support. I mean, for all you could go online now, open a Twitter account, start up an Everton. You're an Everton fan, and on Sunday start slagging off the Everton players, and then the papers would say, "Oh, this Everton fan slagged off all the Everton players, was racially abusing them." But you don't support Everton, so that's another thing. People can spread poison under the guise of being a United fan. I'm not saying we haven't got some trashy fans. I'm sure we do. We've got millions of them, and the likelihood is we've got a number of shockers. But something's got to be done about it. I do think that from the players' point of view, they should treat it, as I said, with the respect it deserves, and understand that these people they're just losers, and you really shouldn't get worried about it at all. I mean, if someone gets online and starts slagging me off, I don't care. You can say whatever you want. Because I know you're just a geek, like trying to slag me off, and I know all the abuse anyway. I know what you can say about me. I mean, you say half of it to me anyway, don't you? But especially about me and my voice on the podcast. So if anyone thinks I sound gay, so does Scott.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But we can't be having that. It's absolutely disgusting. And yeah, I think lifetime bans from all football stadiums is a sufficient ban for that.
But these are the kind of fools who don't even go to games and don't even want to go to games. They're keyboard warriors who they say this stuff when they're sitting behind their computer screen. But if they were actually to be at a game or be anywhere near Ashley Young or any of these players, they wouldn't. They go up and ask for his autograph. They're complete two-faced idiots, man. I don't know what else we can say that we can keep this a clean podcast, but they're just scum.
Yeah. Absolutely,
I'm
mate.
So embarrassed to see some of these comments, and I really hope that something can be done, that this just gets eradicated from just, to be honest, from just all humankind. It's not just to do with sports; it's to do with everything. I live in America, where it's a very racist place, and it's a very subliminally, subconsciously racist place, and there's just no room for it anywhere in the world anymore.
No, there's not. Absolutely not, Scott. It's vile. It's deplorable. But like you say, it's hard to do something about it. What are we going to do to these guys? Ban them from Wi-Fi for 2 months?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the problem.
Yeah, as you just said, they get their accounts suspended and deleted, and then they just start up new ones within 5 minutes. It's shocking. And you look at someone like Lukaku, who's banned all comments from his Instagram or his Twitter unless he follows that person, because he was subjected to some vile abuse for months and months.
I know.
It's just so horrible to see.
It is, mate. And it's just, as you say, it's just so unnecessary. It's quite obvious, we're all in the same boat, aren't we? Black, white, and everyone of all beliefs and everything, we're all in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to understand part of this abuse comes from the people giving its insecurities, I'm sure. But it's just not acceptable. And it looks like the club, it looks like the players are coming together, doing something about it. And hopefully we can eradicate as much as possible. Of course, you're always going to have abuse, but that was so far over the line. It absolutely stunk, didn't it?
It was gross, really embarrassing.
It was indeed, pal. But let's leave that where it deserves, in the dustbin. And let's look forward to Everton, mate. 1:30 Sunday. We need to get this Barcelona game out of our system. It's, if we could have chosen a game to bounce back, away to Goodison Park wouldn't have been our top choice. But It's essential, mate. 3 points is an absolute must.
Yeah, hopefully we can evoke that fantastic game we played there to pretty much wrap up the league title in 2007. I never forget that game. We were 2-0 down, came back to win 4-2. It's a really tough place to go sometimes. We've had some great games there in the past, but it is historically a really tough place to go. And they're actually on a pretty good upturn of form at the moment. We're a team that people love to beat to get rid of their bad form, you know. I can't remember how many times we've played a team who have been rubbish in the last few weeks, and all of a sudden we go there and get beat 1-0. So let's just hope that nothing like that happens.
Yes, mate, and also we need to do something about this this sort of this feeling that we're getting weaker again. We need to answer the critics, because otherwise teams are going to start doing what they did before, and that's have a go at us, and then everything starts going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get into that cycle that we're in under Mourinho, and it's just not the place we want to be. Herrera is back in training for this, so he might appear. Ollie said that Matic and Sanchez will play a part. You expect a few changes after Tuesday, bud? As far as I know, Luke Shaw is the only one suspended.
Well, I would be surprised if Phil Jones was still at right back. I think maybe Delot would come into right back, or he goes back to play Rojo on at left back and bring Ashley Young over to right back. I would actually be surprised if Herrera came back into the team. I think that Matic might start, Fred and maybe Pogba.
Yeah, and can I just go off subject for a second here? I mean, whatever happened to Eric Bailly?
I don't know.
It's incredible. I mean, you look at him over in Spain. He looked fantastic. He came over to us. He looked fantastic, and he seems to have just sort of. He seems to be maturing backwards. He seems to be getting more and more immature by the sort of month. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, which isn't great because his maturity was never one of his strong suits, right? But yeah, he's certainly regressing in terms of ability, and it just goes to show, as I was saying earlier, how much confidence goes to play in your actual ability. And I think he gets subbed off in the first half against Paris, and it, injured or not, it's sort of it can really shake up your confidence. And we've already got a pretty leaky defence as it is. Yeah, it's a real head scratcher. That
it is, pal. It is. One plus point for Sunday is I expect Lukaku to come back into the team, and I expect to see a massive performance from him returning to his old club. You'll know the ground well. You know what it's like when you're used to a place. I'm hoping Lukaku will fire us to victory on Sunday. That's my cheeky prediction.
All right, that's a good shout.
And let's hope we do, because we could lose 3 Premier League games on the bounce for the first time since 1996. But again, Scott, let's be real about this. It was January 96. We all know what happened in the summer of 96. Eric fired us to the Premier League and an FA Cup double. So again, we're comparing it to a season where, I mean, I wouldn't mind going back in a time machine to 96 or 99, pal.
For sure.
Just for the football, though.
I wouldn't mind going in a time machine just back to January, mate.
Oh, fair enough, buddy. But the good thing about this weekend is obviously Spurs travel to City at 12:30 on Saturday, and City will be looking to absolutely smash them.
I think they will give them a good smashing as well.
I can see that happening totally. And then we play at 1:30 on the Sunday. And then Arsenal play the later game against Palace at 4, and then Chelsea on the Monday. So we have actually got a chance to make some ground up, definitely.
Yeah, let's hope so too, because we really need it. That's the only thing we got now, and we really do need to get 4th or 3rd, as I boldly predicted a few months ago.
So can I ask you, Scott, do you still think we're going to get 3rd?
In my wildest dreams, yeah, I do. But realistically, I'm aiming for 4th now. I think my expectations have been dampened a little bit, and I will settle for 4th. TC, don't worry about that.
Well, I've got bad news for you, unfortunately, Scott, because obviously Arsenal and Chelsea advanced to the semis of the Europa League, and with very, very winnable games. They should they get through, and we have Arsenal v Chelsea in the final of the Europa League, we are on a knife edge, because if Liverpool or Spurs were to win the Champions League, there is a maximum 5 teams allowed from each country permitted into the Champions League. If the Europa League and the Champions League winners were to be, say, for instance, Spurs and, say, Arsenal or Chelsea, who finish outside the top 4, then unfortunately we lose our place. Top 3 only qualify.
Yeah, a lot of things need to happen for that to occur. Let's just take one game at a time, mate.
I'm just flagging it up because obviously Arsenal and Chelsea are looking like they've got a date with destiny. It looks like they're going to face each other in the final. That's one place gone, guaranteed. And then, like we say, we're left on a knife edge. That would be pretty much the worst possible scenario. We finish 4th, and then Arsenal, Chelsea win the Europa, Liverpool win the champ. No, it would have to be Spurs, wouldn't it?
Spurs would have to win it, yeah.
It would have to be Spurs.
And come outside the top 4.
Fantastic. Okay, so it is more unlikely than I'm suspecting, but it is a possibility.
It definitely is. I'm more worried about Liverpool winning the league, if I'm honest.
Absolutely, and it depends how City react to that devastating night for them on Wednesday. That could have a really, really cataclysmic effect for their season.
Yeah, or it could spur them on to go and win every league game that they've got now. And obviously, I hope not, because we're playing them next week. But, it could galvanise their whole team, like Fergie used to like to say.
Yes, mate. And like you say, you touched on the fact we're playing City very soon. We really need to go to Everton, bring back the 3 points. I'm very confident we will. As we say, we travel 1:30 on Sunday. We'll be back on Monday for another podcast. So let's look forward to that game at Everton. It's been a hard week for us Reds, but let's keep our chins up. We always stay positive. We've got the summer to look forward. We've got next season to look forward to. We've got the end of this season to look forward to. And you know what, mate? In my opinion, this journey with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has already been worth it. It's already been brilliant. I've already had loads of beautiful memories and seeing Ole at the wheel. So let's hope we can fire through the rest of the season. But I'm still positive about this, buddy.
Me too, mate.
Reds, keep your chins up. We'll see you on Monday.
Ta-ra.
Cheerio.